This will be the English panel because we have a wonderful group of international activists, musicians together that will share in this round. And I'm Monika Herzig. I'm going to oversee the panel. And even though you hear my slight German accent, I've lived in the US for 34 years, the past 34 years. And I just took a position in Vienna this year, so it's an international year. And I also work as a jazz pianist, as a touring jazz pianist. I'm really excited that one of my tunes made it in Terry Lynn Carrington's recent Berkeley release, which is wonderful and a great achievement. And I would love to see many of these initiatives take hold. And one of the things, so you'll see around some flyers. I'm going to introduce our panel in a minute, but one of the things I recently released in August is this Routledge Companion for Jazz and Gender, which has 38 chapters on looking at the roots of what's going on, of what we're going to talk in a minute. So feel free to, actually, if you want to, here, I'll throw that to you. You can pass it around and have a look and start reading. And for the panel today, we have here to my right, this is Erwan Vernay. Did I say that right? Yeah. It's good. Okay, from Paris. We have Camilla Kjærgaard from Denmark. We have Johanna Schneider from Essen. And we have Fleurine from the Netherlands. So a really great international group. And I will give everybody, thank you.
Yeah, we woke up quite early for this
manual. Next. Just go to the next one. And just move it up. It's fine. There we go. So what we'll do, so what this book does and what I'm hoping we can do is look at some of these perspectives. So in the book, we look at the history, what are some roots, historical roots, why we see these uneven numbers, what are some cultural things, what's going on in education, in policy, advocacy. I mean, something that we'll definitely see is that the numbers are skewed. It's a cycle, and what I'm hoping is that what we all can take away when we go out today is one thing that everybody can do, take in their community right now to start cutting into this cycle at some places to just interrupt and move in new directions. It's working. And this, talking about new initiatives, I actually got to see Terry just a few weeks ago before I left in Indianapolis at the Indie Jazzfest. And what she did with putting this publication out is just monumental. The way this caught on and got attention, not just because it's a gimmick, because it's so well crafted and so well put together, saying, okay, everybody keeps asking, well, I just don't have any music by women to play, and it's an excuse. And she said, well, let's just throw that excuse out of the window and give you a book with 100 lead sheets so you can play them. And the genius thing that she's putting together, it's not just the book. She's putting these recordings together with incredible musicians. She has curated exhibits to change history, to help us understand how history actually works and what has not been written into history. And I just absolutely think she's a genius the way she's putting together. And she does not need it. I mean, she's one of the foremost jazz musicians that we have. There's no need for her to be such an advocate, but she realizes that we have a better community by doing that and working together. So this book was sold out after one day that it came out, the first edition. So they're printing the second edition now. So there's a need and there's interest. And unfortunately, our Italian contingency couldn't come, but she shared some of her numbers, a recent study they did, and we'll see similar numbers over and over. What we definitely see, what we definitely see is always the instrument distribution, where yes, vocalists have been participating for a long time, but I'm sure the vocalists have something to say about that too. But if we look at the instruments, it starts early with the instrument choices, where we have some of the dividing line. And the thing about it is that in terms of income, presentation, participation, we always have these token numbers. And I'm going to turn it over here to Camilla, because she has one of these incredible initiatives that I've been doing some of these 2 Jazz Girls Day, but just on a bigger scale, where we realize role models is one of those key ingredients that we need. So Camilla, tell us about all your wonderful things you're doing with these role models and cams.
Thank you so much.
Give you
can I stand over here maybe, or okay, maybe I can try and see. Okay, should we switch?
We switch.
Okay. Should I take the remote?
You take the remote.
Okay, which one? Okay. Thank you so much. This is a picture from an article that the New York Times did this year about our project called Jazz Camp for Girls. The quote is from another project that we're doing, but I thought it was really interesting and said a lot about the situation that we're in. You look like 50% of the world's population, but are professionalized as a minority. I think it quite says it all. Yeah, okay. Just briefly about JazzDanmark. It's the national organization for jazz in Denmark and Danish jazz abroad. We work to promote Danish jazz music in Denmark and internationally. And part of our strategy is also to focus on diversity and inclusion. So first of all, we just released this report this year. It covers all the music genres, so it's not only jazz, but it's the same tendencies in the jazz environment. The report is called Why Are Women Grossly Underrepresented in the Music Industry? And these are some of the main conclusions. Unregulated working conditions are very hard on women, especially. Prejudice overshadows the recognition of women and non-cisgendered people. Transgressive behavior is ubiquitous for women and non-gendered. So, what to do about these hopeless results that I just very briefly went through from our analysis. If you want, I'm happy to elaborate on them at a later time. But now I'm just going to briefly present some of the projects that we're doing in JazzDanmark. So, Jazz Camp for Girls, that Monika also mentioned, is a project that we've done since 2014. It's for women or girls and non-binaries between the ages of 10 and 15. They go to this camp 1 week each summer at their local music school. So it's also, we're partnering up with the local music schools as well. The purpose of Jazz Camp for Girls is to have more female instrumentalists. So this is not a camp for vocalists. The reason for this is that we wanted to challenge the numbers that we see in the local music schools, where the majority of the vocalists are female and the girls are not represented on any of the instruments, especially drums, guitar, bass and stuff. So this was our try of seeing if we can change this somehow. The project has really been a huge success and continues to be. It was adopted to the UK in 2019, and this year it was also adopted to Poland, Finland, and Sweden, and next year it will also be in Turkey and Portugal. The next thing that we're doing at JazzDanmark in particular is that we blindfold our application processes. This has been a really tremendous experience for us to work with our own unconscious bias, but also to see. I called another foundation in Denmark yesterday because they also tried doing this with an application, and the result was that they had 50% more women apply for it, which also meant 50% more women was granted. I think that's a good number to take with you. And also a really specific and very easy tool to use in your application processes, whether it's for grants or open calls. Education, we do a huge course called Arts and Culture in Balance, which is across all of the cultural sector in Denmark, where we teach about unconscious biases. This is a course for industry professionals, and I know more than 500 has already taken the course, which started this year. We just got a huge funding for it from the government. We got 350,000 euros to continue with this, so hopefully we can spread out the word even more. Let's see, yeah, this is Jazz Camp for Girls. I would recommend you to go to our international website called danishjazz.com, where you can read a lot more on all of these projects. This is the poster that we just did, where we took Jazz Camp for Girls across Europe. And in the UK, they just won an award for their work on Jazz Camp for Girls. And this is the New York Times article, yeah. I think that's it.
Are you okay from here, or do you want to? I think I would. So, okay. So, again, I want to showcase some of these initiatives, things that people do, and. So for the next segment, yay, you had some more in there.
Sorry, yeah. A bit long. You can just.
Absolutely, you're so right. Be the change. Here we get the beat. So for the next segment, more money.
Yeah.
Where did you get your money?
The State's Arts Council.
The State's Arts Council.
So it's part of the political agreement, the political budget for the next 4 years.
Very cool. And there's a guy.
This is I just thought the quote in the back is very good. Other people have it, not me. I'm fair, objective, and I include everyone, which is of course not true for any of us. And this is what Jens is teaching about unconscious biases.
And that's something we should talk about too.
You can just
There we go. Lots of links. We'll share that. Thank you from Camilla. And so Johanna is representing the German Jazzunion, and tomorrow, of course, will be the big reveal of the jazz study, but we're going to give some secrets away. So.
Yeah, thank you, Camilla. Thank you, Monika. I think we already, got some clue about, how the structures are, what things we can change maybe, and but for change we first have to look at things and to realize what's really going on and why are things how they are. So we had from the German Jazzunion, we had 2 jazz studies, one in 2016 and one just right now in 2022. So here we put together. Yeah, I will. Yes. Actually, this is this is a book. It's called Gender macht Musik. Gender makes music, and it's the re-evaluation from this study in 2016. So this is kind of new. It came out in 2020. So if you want to have a look at it, or we don't have so many of it here, but you can come afterwards and
it's online too.
It's online as well. Yeah. So if we are talking about about gender justice, we also have to talk about money, and so we, as in the whole society, we have this gender pay gap, what you see here, and I mean it's almost 25% less what women earn, but we have to be honest. There's a difference between the income, and also if we look at just one gig, I mean the money that you can get for one gig, it's actually more what women earn then. But it's kind of complicated, but in the end it's still 25% less what women earn. So I think tomorrow we will have more time to talk about the reasons. One reason might be that women are more likely to be singers, and so maybe then also band leaders. This could be one of the aspects. Yes. So this I will stand up actually. This shows how we make our money. So we see that we have different aspects in music where we can work, and I think it shows that women don't have what if you have been there in the morning, we were talking about the gender show gap. So this is actually what shows this. Women don't have so many possibilities to show their music, to show their arts. So it's important to put a spotlight on that, and this is what I also do. I'm also organizing a festival together with 6 colleagues of mine to have a spotlight on especially, like Camilla said, on female instrumentalists. So this is there you can also see how many concerts. And then, just like in Denmark, we have many vocalists and not so many instrumentalists. But the good thing is, if you compare 2016 and now, we have an increase of female instrumentalists. So this is the good news. But at least it's going in the right direction. But it's still a long way to go. I told you about the band leading thing. This says it as well. Women are have in 82% women are the band leaders. And also teachers. Women are more likely to teach, and if we look at it, they are dealing more with children, and they are also teaching much more likely outside of jazz. So even if they study jazz, they are more likely to teach other things like elementary music for little children. I mean, which isn't a bad thing, but it's it's kind of obvious that there is a difference, and we have to talk about why is this, and is it the free will, or are they pushed into this?
Except in higher education, where you have the opposite.
Yes, this is also a thing we need to talk about, especially if we speak about professorships. Men are more likely to get a professorship than women. I think it's only a few years ago that we had the very first female professor instrumentalist at the German University of Music. So it was a drummer called Eva Klesse. You know her probably. Yeah, Eva, if you're there. Congratulations again. And now we have at least 3 female instrumentalist professors. But yeah, it's still a long way to go. So yeah, those are most of the facts that are dealing with this topic. So you see, there are things we need to talk about. We need to talk about the reasons and try to change things.
Well, but thank you, Johanna.
You're welcome.
But a study like this helps, because if you can document some of the numbers, you have a tool for advocacy. So I'm going to turn it over to Erwan, and he'll share everything that's going on in Paris.
Yes. Grand Format, the network I work for, is the French network for jazz and improvised music, large ensembles and collectives, and encourage, a better gender balance and gender equality in general in the French jazz sector is obviously one of our mission. That's why in 2018 we led the first study about gender equality in the French jazz and improvised music sector. One of the good points of this study is that it was in partnership with AGC, which is the French network for festivals and venues in the jazz sector, and FNEJMA, which is the French network for musical school, jazz music school in France. Then the study focused on the artistical teams, but also on the diffusion structures, which mean festival and venues and etc., and the pedagogical structures, for a total of 138 answering structures. As you can imagine, the figures weren't that good. That was from 75 to 85% of men among both professional musicians, students and teachers. Similar statistics regarding the programmation, with 78% of what we called mostly masculine band program in this festival and venues. Like in Denmark or Germany or even Italy, we observed a gendered repartition between different instruments. For example, in the Grand Format members, it was 83% of singers who were women, but they were a minority, in every other type of instrument, and for sure it's still too rare to see a trumpetist or even a double bassist woman on stage. On the other end, women are a majority in the administrative teams. There were 65% when we observed it. But since women are the core of these artistical teams, they are directors in only 3% of cases and part of a mixed management team in only 24% of cases. Since 2018, when we led this study, things have evolve, at least a bit, I hope. In France, for example, the public institutions have already taken some measures. For example, a real attention is given now to the inclusion of women in the bands which apply for grants, and some clear objectives are presented by Ministry of Culture regarding these issues. Also, every candidate for any kind of grants in France have to commit to a sexist and sexual violences prevention protocol, which include a formation for every person on a managing position in every structure. Grand Format also tried to lead actions in this sense, in this way. From 2020, for example, we proposed several formation sessions on sexist and sexual violences to our members, in partnership with the specialized organizations called La Petite in France. We also keep attention regarding our on communication and just communication for making women visible in our own communication, in our own production. This 2018 study was very good received and has been presented on quite many occasions, even in an international context. For example, at JazzFest in, I think, 2019. And that's one of the reasons which led us to launch a new study on this subject, which will be launched in 2023, so next year. It will be again with AGC and FNAJMA, and the big news is that we will be accompanied in this work by Marie Buscato, who is one of the most prominent experts in genre sociology in France, and who collaborated with Monika for the Routledge Companion to Jazz Gender. And we believe that it will be a big improvement regarding its quality and scientific credibility, but also for a wider visibility of this study. We also want to measure how things have evolved since 2018. The conclusion about too small proportion of women will probably remain the same, but we may hope an even small, but a progress of their number, and maybe find which type of action has best encouraged it. We'll also include a whole part about sexual and sexist violences, which was missing on our previous study, but which is clearly an important part of the subject. And for us, it's also a way to continue the work, to provide a new visibility for these issues, and to take the occasion to maybe to invent new way of actions in this purpose.
Thank you, Erwan. So far we've gotten a lot of numbers. We got activism in terms of camps. So I want to turn it over to Fleurine to talk a little bit about the perspective from the Netherlands, but maybe a topic we haven't done so much about, also being a mom.
Yeah, I'm Fleurine. I'm a vocalist and play guitar and a composer, and I'm also the president of the BIM, which is the Dutch Jazzunion, and the BIM has just celebrated its 50th birthday, so we've had a union for 50 years, but I was never a member of that union because I didn't know any women who were a member. And apparently it's important for little girls, like when I was in the conservatory, to feel like you belong somewhere and that you're accepted somewhere. And I just saw a network of primarily white men, very smart Dutch white men who did something wonderful. They put jazz in the subsidized system, just like classical music, but I never felt included. Then came the pandemic, and I was sitting home without any work, and I started writing critical pieces about what needed to change in jazz, because as Annette van Eichel, your president, pointed out earlier today, like the pandemic was like a magnifying glass, for everyone to see what was already wrong. And then the Dutch Jazz Union asked me if I wanted to be on the board. And I'd never really thought about it. So I was like, well, okay, I have nothing to do. Why don't I try this? And so I started to see who were a member. And I found out that you're going to be shocked, because we Dutch always pride ourselves on being a pretty emancipated country. I was in Holland the 15th woman to be a member of the Dutch Jazz Union. I was in complete shock. I thought, this is 2020, you know, we're woke, we're emancipated. So what did I do? From the moment I joined the board, I started to very hard to, like Mahatma Gandhi said, and Camilla just also used it, be the change I wanted to see. So I just actively started calling every female musician in jazz in Holland and asked, why aren't you a member? You know, and they started signing up. It was like literally a one-by-one calling people up. And then a year later, they asked me if I wanted to be on the board, and I got elected president of the board, which was kind of a really unexpected thing for me, but I thought, okay, I'm only going to do it, I said, if I can have a majority of women on the board, because in all the 50 years of boards, there had only been every once in a while a random woman, and never as a president. So we're really starting to be the change and showing little girls and young female musicians, like, you know, we're part of the organization, you can be this too, we are making the policy, and we haven't yet had such a great study as we're working on, a study like the ones they're doing in Denmark and France, which are professionally run organizations, as is Germany. And we're trying to get the funding. We do have a recent study from BUMA, which is our Dutch GEMA. Just take a wild guess, like how many Dutch female composers, what is the percentage male-female? What do you think it is? No, it is, well, it used to be somewhere around 4 when I signed up, but now it is 14. So it's 14 versus 86% male, which I think is still astounding. It's close to the, 14%. So they did a study, that study looked at girls all over the board, not just jazz, also classical and pop. And I think Monika wanted me to say something about mothers in jazz, which is also a topic close to my heart. As I am a mother, I have 3 children, and they all play jazz by now. And I noticed some strange things, like they're all musicians, but only my son likes playing. He's 14, he's a drummer, and he likes playing at the jam sessions. And when I go to the jam sessions with him, which I have to because he's still not of the age that he can hang out at a bar, without parental supervision, I still see the exact same landscape that I saw when I was at the conservatory, which is, it really feels like I'm in a time machine. Nothing has changed. There's 98% boys playing super virtuosic, and there's like every once in a while there's a trumpeter or a saxophone player or a random singer. And when the singer does come on, all the musicians, all the instrumentalists start to sigh like, oh no, now we have to play the song in a different key. On the topic of gender balance, it just occurred to me when I saw the numbers that we should invite male singers to the female jazz camps, because we're talking about gender balance. So I saw 3% male singers, so I think we need to work on getting those boys to sing. And the mother thing, what is the difference between mothers in jazz? So a lot of people said, oh, if you want a career, then why did you have children? Well, I'm not even really going to address that, because if we didn't have children, the world wouldn't go round. So if you do have children, and in my case, I'm married to a colleague, he tours quite a lot, and when he leaves the house to go on tour, he kisses us goodbye and he hops into a cab and he goes on tour. Very different for a woman in jazz. Like when I want to go out on tour, I have a 7-page schedule for each one of my children, their lessons, our work is at night, you know. It's not like you can bring the kids to daycare. You have to provide care day and night. Who's going to pay for that? You know, when you tour, you spend a lot of your money in childcare, in putting all your children at different places. Who brings them to their math lesson or their music lesson? Who brings them to their sports on Saturday? It's who walks the dog. I mean, literally, when I go on tour, I just went on a tour to the United States last month, and I had only just arrived in New York to, you know, rehearse with my band, who I hadn't seen since the beginning of the pandemic, since before the pandemic. And I was only there for 5 minutes, and the school called, you know, something happened to my daughter, blah, blah, blah. But a mother in jazz is never free of the home front, which is, I think, one of the big reasons why a lot of women just give up, because it's too much work, you know. It's like too much to be managing the band, writing new music, being the band leader, getting arranging the van and the hotels and the travel, and then thinking of new music, making compositions. Oh yeah, the child, the school, oh, something is wrong. It's like, it's too much. So women in jazz have their plate more full than most men. I know cannot speak for everybody. I'm sure there's many emancipated men who also do these chores, so I don't want to make it black and white. But I do think there should be some extra attention for not just young women and young talented musicians in conservatory, but also mid-career and late-career women who just have a fuller plate than most men.
Thank you, Fleurine. It's an important point. Yeah, when the pandemic hit, my daughter said, "Mom, you never home that much." I was like, well, yeah, I know. I'm never home. I missed a lot.
Well, you also brought up this interesting point that Monika was working with a band who took a child on the road because they were...
So, as an all-female group, so I'm leading this all-female group. Shira's out of New York, and usually the trombonist took her daughter along. So it's all of us and the kid, and we're doing that. And I'm not sure I've seen any other touring man.
I've never seen a male band with a baby on the road. Did you? Have you?
So there's all kinds of things. But here's what I want to do. Of course, I do want to have some discussion and have some feedback. And yes, we know all the problems and all the roots, but I promised I want you all to go out with something to do, something you can change, where you can cut in. So I'm going to do a quick round of everybody just think of something where you would say, you could do this now, today, and it would make an impact. And the thing I want to put out is, you know, one of the things we found over and over in education is the way improvisation is taught is in middle school, high school range between, you know, the 10 to 16 range when you learn your instrument. When the girls are in puberty, or everybody's in puberty, but when you ask the girls to, you know, take a solo, or when you ask somebody to volunteer to take a solo, it's very unlikely that the girls will raise their hand and stand up and do something risky where they might look not perfect amongst their peers, because that's a hard thing to do at that time. And this is one of the great dividing lines where we're not careful as teachers. So all of you, so here's my charge that I'm putting out, all of you who are involved in teaching, when you teach, especially at the beginning level, make sure to think about exercises where just everybody takes a few bars or does something. Never ask for volunteers. Who wants to take the solo? Always go, you and you and you and you. One idea. All right. What is your charge?
One thing we ever talked about, but I think one of the important thing might be to identify women model, because musician needs to have model to choose this kind of career, to choose this kind of way. Well-known women musician can be fewer than men, but I think we have to identify musician women who could be models for young musician girl, you know.
Role models. Camilla.
I have two things. One of them is this constant argument that with promoters, for instance, that they only book things that are quality. Consider by who is quality defined and to whom, when was it defined, so the historical aspect of it as well, because women weren't part of the music industry or the jazz industry when this idea of quality was defined, so let's try and redefine it together. The second thing is this. I mean, I was so happy when I came in here and saw the different genders here, because normally when we do these panels in Denmark, the tendency is that it's mostly women who are in the audience, and we can't change it by ourselves. So take a counterpart with you of the opposite gender to all of these things, because otherwise we can't change it.
Buddy network. Good. Johanna, what's your chart?
Yeah, it's two things. One of it has also to do with doing the network. I think we have, yeah. Sorry guys, but I mean it's so often that we recommend our bodies. We had a drink at the bar last night, so there's a job offer, there is a gig, and I think, yeah, as women we don't do this kind of networking often enough. Yeah, so if we can't do some gig, some job, we should, yeah, just recommend our dear female colleagues, and don't think as them as our concurrents. I mean, we have to work more together and put forces together, and I think this is, think more as a community. This is what we did in Essen, where I studied. We formed a collective like 8 years ago, and we realized that we can do so much more if we work together. Yeah, and also we have to realize that there are really structural things that have to change, and we can do something about it. I mean, we have the numbers. We can go to politicians, talk about this, and also I have one good example, like a friend last year or some months ago. She's also a singer. She doesn't have children at all, but she went to Initiative Musik, and she told them, how can it be that you give money for projects, but there is no money for childcare, so you can't apply, you can't put it on your financial list, and how can it be? Why doesn't it appear anywhere? And so they changed it. I mean, yeah, she wrote an email to us, she wrote to many different people, and now they changed it. And this, makes me think, okay, if we realize something like that, we can speak up and we can change things.
Yeah. Fleurine, you're going to write some more letters?
Yeah, no, I really realize that how deeply ingrained tradition is in the brains of women and girls. Like, to give a personal example, I was watching the Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra, and I was marveling at the fact that, they had just as many musicians of color as white musicians. I thought, oh, that's so wonderful. And I never even realized that the only female person there was the singer, who was hired as a guest vocalist. And so then during the concert it dawned on me, and every time I have these realizations where things that are so stuck in your mind because you've always seen them in a certain way that you don't even realize it, that they will only change if you take direct action, and that can be done by one person. To give a couple of examples, I went personally, out of the name of the BIM now, I can speak and I go to big bands and I say, guys, why are there no girls in the big band? Like, can you start doing something about it? And then they will say something like, well, these people already have a steady job. But I'm like, okay, but if there's a sub, just like Johanna said, next time, don't think of your buddy, call a female, because that little girl learning the trumpet will be so inspired when she sees at least one female in the band, or two, or three, or more. And the same thing I did with a jazz magazine that I noticed they only had male musicians on the cover. And so I just called up the chief editor and I said, hey, did you notice that you've only had males for more than a year? And she said, oh my God, no, I did not notice. Thank you for pointing that out. So sometimes the actions are as simple as just picking up the phone and in a friendly way, you know, just like Mahatma, peaceful, not like, sometimes you have to kick on some doors, but just make people aware and be the change you wish to see.
Good point. So we see all these places where we can cut in from the very bottom, where you choose your instruments and you have role models throughout education, where you can change the methods that you teach in a more inclusive way, and even higher when you really take advocacy. So I do want to have the opportunity here to also discuss a little bit with feedback. So is there a way to... Jacob has the magic microphone.
Check, yes. Okay, Gabi.
I have one simple question. Actually, what is your individual thoughts on quotes, especially when it comes to bigger festivals, stuff like that? Are you dealing with quotes? Do you want to work with quotes, or is it something you... quoten. What's the name in English? I'm not... Quota? Quotel.
Affirmative action.
Okay, not quotes, like citation, but
it's affirmative action in the system, yeah, and I'll give that to Johanna. But it's a very complex thing, because the problem is always when you make extra space for something, you also take something out. So, Johanna, what feedback do you have on that?
I think it's not a smooth thing to do it, but I think it must be done, because if we want to have a change, we have to start somewhere. We have to start at one point, and I have talked to so many women who try to change things over years, and they were for many years against this idea, and then after 20 years of recognizing nothing is happening, they changed their mind, and now they are for affirmative action. So yes, I'm pro because I think it's just one step, and then we can get rid of it again, but for now we will need it. That's what I think.
And the problem is, like Monika also pointed out, we had a talk before we came here, that, you know, jazz is of course already a marginalized music form. So we don't want to, you know, hurt our brothers either. Like, we're all fighting there. Nobody of us is making huge salaries, blah, blah, blah. But we do need to open everybody's eyes to the fact that the festivals are booking more guys, and that there's so many bands with only guys. And, you know, so if the switch also, who just said it beautifully, in the head of our male counterparts, or like any gender, if things start thinking about each other, then it might eventually become, we might break the old boys network, which needs to be done.
So you would say you're also pro-affirmative?
Definitely pro, yes.
Okay, perfect.
Sorry.
Yes, I think the question isn't if quotas are a good or bad thing from a moral point of view.
My question was...
Yes, actually, that's my point. Actually, I think in an ideal world, you know, there would be a bad thing, but the question is, do we need it? And my answer would be yes. Taken the thing which they are at the time, we need quotas. I think that's the only way to make a faster progress, to realize the progress we want.
Personally, I'm also very for it, a big supporter of it. I think sometimes you have to enforce a change coming from above, because apparently we can't really trust that people want to change themselves unless they get money for it. I think we also have to think of some of the examples where it has been used in the US and South Africa as well. Think of affirmative action as being a preliminary tool, a temporary tool for permanent change. So by having gender quotas, for instance, it doesn't mean that we have to have them for 20 years, but there might be a way of changing people's train of habit and train of thought when it comes to promoting, for instance.
Well, the US is kind of a sad example because the affirmative action that was for race issues for a long time and really has changed the makeup of the higher education system. The Supreme Court was just looking at disbanding it, which is incredibly irritating, but yeah, that's the sign of the times too. Got everybody's opinion. Who else?
But if I just may add, in South Africa, where they also dismantled it, they saw a change afterwards. That is why I think we should also look into it when it comes to gender and maybe also race in Europe as well. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Erwan, for the refreshing input. That's really, really good to hear. I'm working as a musician with a lot of other musicians in Hanover to make something in the city. We are organizing jazz festivals. We have sessions and many things, and try to do things for musicians and for jazz. So it's very good. No, it's sorry, my English, but I think in the last years, so we started again to notice that we have a big problem that's really bad, that we notice this now, because it was something like the 50 years in the last 2 decades, I think. We were very, in the 70s and the 80s we did a lot, but in the 90s and the last, in the Nuller years, how do you say that?
It's called post-feminism, where there
really?
was
the last 5 years.
There's actually a name for that.
Okay. But that's true. It's the last 5 years, something, that's my impression. There are so many aspects. I want to talk about one aspect. It's encouragement. Encourage each other, men and women, all people, because there are so many resistance borders. When we talk about, okay, in our state we have this big bands. People from music school come to these big bands. They are good at their instrument, but in these big bands, which is something like starting point to start a professional career, they are mostly boys. And before that, I'm teaching at the music school. You can't see, it's the same girls and boys. And I'm teaching jazz. It's not more boys. There's some point where it's happening. And then you have the jury, and I know the people who are on the jury, which are men. And you have to be brave to say, we have a problem here. Because they are coming and saying, okay, you're coming with the gender stuff.
Have you ever looked at the lists at all the jazz magazines? Who are the best albums of the year?
Absolutely,
like
I can
all
say
men.
we have 3 big bands: Vidya big band, NDR big band in Germany. I think it's not many women there. So it's everyone.
One.
Yeah.
One.
Carolina.
Oh yeah, two.
Yeah.
We have,
Yeah. But I mean, encouragement. This is really important. We made 4 weeks ago. We made a festival. We made gender equality as a theme. I think we did it well, but it's you have to be some kind of brave, and you need this input to encourage. You have to make the discussions, and for that you
have to make it clear, and a lot of times there's jealousy. If
Thank
there's
you.
one woman on one girl instrumentalist, it's like, oh, she's only asked because she's the girl. She doesn't actually play as well as the guys. Like, you hear all kinds of stories like that. So there's, I don't know why that is.
Well, I mean, there's also this issue of tokenism, right? Where often you see the environments, you say, well, we have the one all-female band. We hired our teammates for all our festivals. We don't need more of it. You know, it's this sense of we fulfilled our quota and not being sensitive to it. But the thing is, role models are the key. You know, at every point in this cycle, and it comes out every time you look at it. If you see somebody doing what they do and you can identify with them, you're so much more likely to go that path. You know, I remember seeing Carla Bley conducting a big band at this Austrian festival when I was in high school, and my jaw dropped. And I said, that's what I'm going to do. But if it wouldn't have been Carla Bley with the big hair conducting, you know, I probably wouldn't have decided to go that route. So role models, and in a community way, I think just the other thing we're also finding that if we do things together, it's stronger. So we have to get rid of this tokenism and this post-feminism idea of competition. You know, the best will get to the top. So you have to fight to be the best, and that means you have to push the others out, and that notion doesn't work either.
And you were afraid to talk about it being, I mean, I wouldn't have been caught dead talking about this subject at age 25. Because you really didn't want to make it an issue. And you just thought, as long as I'm really good at what I do, I will be fine, you know. But it's the wrong idea. You have to make it an issue.
we have one more.
Yeah, thank you so much for the presentations and the input. I'm totally with you, and I'm very happy to hear all this. And I think there's a lot of good ideas for us as a jazz union in Germany in it. One thing I would like to add is that in my perception, very often women are a bit shy in order to take over power, to go to the decisive places and be the ones to take the jobs, because I think the problem has a lot of sides, and I think the structures are one of the huge problems, and we do need role models. But sometimes we also don't have enough women who dare to step forward and say, I'm going to do this now. And I think that's a real problem
because
too.
Women are vilified in politics. I mean, as soon as a woman takes power, everybody calls it the bitch or the, I mean, if you see what's happening in Holland right now with female politicians.
But if I may say so, we've had that in the jazz union as well, that we've asked colleagues, female colleagues, would you like to participate and be part? And then they say, maybe later, or I don't feel qualified yet. And I think we should much more dare to not wait till we are overqualified for a job, but just do it. You know what I mean? I don't say that this is the only reason. I totally agree with you, but I think also we should dare to take the responsibility for power as well. We can do that.
I think it has to do with what Monika pointed out early. There's something in the way girls are traditionally raised which is very perfectionist, like you have to be perfect and you don't present yourself until it's perfect. Well, jazz is not about perfection. Jazz is about bowls, We've got balls, but we have to bring them out a little more. Was that not politically correct? I'm sorry.
Can I add something to it?
Go for it, go.
I think what we found out with Jazz Camp for Girls, the project, is that one of the things that the girls like about it the most is that it's a safe space for them. And obviously women need it as well. Before I started working at JazzDanmark, I was invited to a meeting only for women that worked with jazz music in Denmark. And that was where I really found out that I wanted to work at this place, because it was so important that we had a space. I think we were only maybe 20 people who showed up, but one of them is part of one of our board members right now. So maybe we also need to consider that just because we are adults doesn't mean that we don't still need those confined spaces in such a harsh industry. So I think that might also be a good idea for you to try and see if you can gather women in jazz here and really map what are their main concerns, why are they not stepping onto the stage, taking the lead. And also, again, consider this process of screening your applications is a really interesting way of giving room for women that are, because we are taught not to take too much attention, to just nurse everybody else. This is also a way of giving them the space that they deserve.
Yeah. What Camilla says, I just want to say that there is one program I want to point out at this point. It's called SOFIA, which means Support of Female Improvising Artists. I took part in this, and I can absolutely recommend it. So tell your pupils, tell everyone about it. It's great, and it's just this exact thing. We have one last, and then one last question.
I have actually something in addition to what Annette and also Arne was named, but what they said before. Okay, I have to kind of fix my thought for a second, because this is kind of triggering me a little bit. A lot of times when we talk about gender, I also see that, for example, when we're talking about BIPOCs or other groups, marginalized people, suddenly this discussion, which should be very empowering, ends in a kind of narrative where it is about the marginalized person has to change something. The marginalized person has to step up. They have to take the balls and, ich übertreibe jetzt aber, the poor guys who are talking for us, we have to support them as well, la-di-da. Actually, I don't see, no, I didn't say that you said that. It's just, these are the kind of point of views that appear in this kind of discussion very often. It's not only that you said it, this is just also before this panel, we already had a discussion outdoor about this. And this is a kind of something where I also want to highlight, yes, it's also on one point good to do the networking, that females do the networking, that they connect, etc. But I also want to highlight we need more men, actually, like Erwan here, who's our guest. We need more men to step up in their communities. We need men to do like sensibility talks, actually. And these kind of guys need to step up and have some balls and talk with their peers about issues. Yeah, perfect, yeah. Because this is actually also what we need. So every guy in this room who is now sitting, they also have to consider next time when they have a gig, maybe give it to a female. They also have to consider, and it happens quite a lot, like when backstage some weird comments are happening with your female colleagues, to step up and to say to their peer, hey, what the fuck, man, actually don't do this, It's not just about the females being the courage ones. As Camilla said, it also has to be male figures to step up. And this is something that very often, I don't know why, when it's about marginalized people, they focus on themselves and how they need to change and to grow, and it's important too. But we also have to not just invite, but also actually demand from the other side that is actually marginalizing us to do some work. And that we are not the ones who necessarily need to be part of them doing the work. They have to do the work themselves also. That's just something I wanted to add.
let's put it on to, it's neither us nor them. I mean, there shouldn't be a us or them. You know, it's all a community, and I think this is the perfect point for this last charge. And I know there's going to be a sound check here, so we'll have to move. Well, but okay, so we'll answer that question. But on that, again, the charge. Write it down right now somewhere. Everybody go out of here with one thing they can do in their environment to change. Next time you go to a jam session and you see a girl sitting, either take a girl along or you see one sitting there, encourage them. I see it at every jam session that there are some and they never dare to go up, and every time I go and take them nearly by the hand up, they will do that. So each one of you, think about one thing that you'll do now, tonight. My teacher thing is talking. That that you'll take away. It's all one community, and there's not you do this or you do this. We all do one thing. Okay, last one.
Yes. Hello. My name is Valentina, and I'm studying baritone jazz saxophone in Nuremberg, in Germany. So I identify myself as like a little bit the next generation, maybe. And as a baritone saxophone player, I play very often with big bands or large ensembles, and very often I'm the only woman in the whole band. And one day I was playing with a band. We had a little tour, like 5 gigs or something, and then we were on stage, and it's normal that yes, the people who are the club owner or someone says, yes, we have 20 male musicians, because like in German, in the German language, musician means male musician. So the first lead alto player stood up and said, yes, but we also have one female player here on stage. And it was really nice for me, so I just wanted to tell the story that it's really helpful as a woman if you're like I mean, it's normal life that you're alone with a lot of men. And sometimes you don't feel safe. It's like Camilla said, like safe space. It's a really important thing. And also, I wanted to add, like, I mean, there are sometimes problems at music schools or universities with sexual stories. And the people, I mean, the girls, they read that in the magazines, and everyone knows it, but not so many people are talking also about this theme. And I think as a man, if you, for example, if you do the gender stuff in the German language, then you show women, okay, this man cares about how women feel. And I think, or other people with other identifications or other genders. And also, like, if there are people from another country or something, it's so important if you like, there are so many little things how you can show the people, hey, I'm interested that you also feel fine. So yes, that's what I wanted to say.
That's beautiful. And it's also the elephant in the room, right? That we didn't address. It's the elephant in the room that we didn't address, but probably shouldn't because the panel is over. But there is not a single woman who hasn't had to deal with that, with forms of being sexually harassed. And there's not a single female musician who hasn't had to deal with it. I don't know any who've never had to deal with it. You've never had to deal with it? Never. Beautiful. I haven't met them, but anyway. So that's something for men to also think about.
Well, there's a reason why historically, you know, each woman that was active was actually married to one of the musicians in the band. That was the protection part of it. But in any case, I think we have so many ideas and examples of little things that can be done and that we can all take home. So if you don't have one in your head by now, don't go out before you do. And I hope we can continue the discussion far beyond dinner tomorrow and in your community, and do that one thing that you can apply. So thank you all for sharing all your wisdom here on stage and off stage.
Thank you, Monika Herzig, for moderating this panel and for being one of the professors who is leading the way and being the change that we all want to see.